where the challenge that the 6 people you'll be hearing tonight is for them to present a big idea. We're not looking for the best rhetorical speaker. We're looking for somebody who has a brilliant idea. So the winner will be invited to speak at TEDx University of Nevada on January 21st, 2017 over at the Pioneer Center. Now for those of you who are in the older generation, it's the Legion of Doom down on South Virginia Street.
It moved to the Grand Sierra Resort this year.
Oh, fantastic, even better. Parking's a little bit better there.
All right, so in the audience we have 3 judges tonight. We have Jim McClanahan, the Director of Corporate Relations and Outreach, up in the front row. Yeah, Dr. Jim. We have Andy, who is a senior in the College of Business and a TED enthusiast. And we have Melissa Perez-Rios in the front row also, who's a College of Business senior and who will be the MC at TEDx University of Nevada.
Now, just a couple of reminders before we begin. First off, I'm sure the speakers wouldn't mind if you're recording this video for your own personal benefit, but if you do that on your cell phone, please turn your notifications off. None of the speakers want to hear what classic ringtones you have. So please go ahead and turn that off. And second and most importantly, looking out there and seeing a whole lot of people there, I think on behalf of the speakers, Alyssa, myself, the Business Student Council, we all want to thank you all for coming out here tonight. Those of you who are family or close friends of the speakers, it's your courage, or it's your support that has given them the courage to come up here and speak. And all of you up in the peanut gallery up there, I see an Apple laptop up there. No, that's fine. No, that's fine. It's great. I'm glad you guys are here. So thank you guys for coming out and supporting this. This is a huge thing. We're really looking forward to the messages we're going to be hearing tonight. So thank you. I'll hand it over to Alyssa.
Yep, and one last thing, if you have to leave for any reason, that's okay, just please do so quietly. And when you come back in, if you can wait until the person who's currently speaking is done to take your seat, that would be really respectful. Our first talk tonight will be Aaron Vanderpool. Aaron is a Lake Tahoe native and a senior at Sierra Nevada College in Klein Village. He will be talking to us about how a tragedy in our soundscapes is shaping our reality. So please welcome Aaron Vanderpool.
Good evening. It is my hope tonight that I can bring you all to a new level of awareness about sound. I grew up in what used to be a small, quiet town, just up the mountain from us, actually. And at a young age, I connected to nature. The forest was like a city to me, except besides a background noise of traffic or planes flying overhead, I heard bees and other insects. Instead of people, I heard birds and other animals. The forest was just like alive in this symphony of sounds and relationships. So I wanted to start off with this thinking about sound. First, think about a sound that you like. Now, a lot of people think about nature sounds. And then I would like you to think about a sound that you don't like. Now, there's a problem here. A lot of these sounds can be controversial in that one person might like that sound and another person might not like that same sound. So sound is said to be subjective. But what if I told you that there was a significant objective component to sound? The research is showing that noise negatively contributes to our health. There are higher rates of heart disease, of diabetes, and obesity. Noise even changes the way we taste foods and our appetite. Now you might be wondering, as I did, how do they know this when there are so many other factors that can be involved? Well, they do specifically designed experiments, and they also don't exactly know the mechanisms yet, but they do know that it's stress hormones such as cortisol, also our heart rate variability, and even nerves that pass by our ear canals. So if noise affects us so much, what about wildlife? There's a lot of research out there about how noise negatively affects wildlife, especially bird and bird communication. Researchers up in Idaho did a study where they put speakers throughout the forest every 30 meters, and they create a phantom roadway. And the result was a 28% reduction in total bird numbers, with some species completely leaving the area. And that was from just sound. So also in our oceans, there's a lot of environmental groups right now fighting to protect marine life from drilling and shipping noises. So this brings us to the fascinating field of soundscape ecology. Now, Bernie Cross is a soundscape ecologist. What he can do is go out and record a certain spot in the forest. And from that recording, we can see all the different frequencies that different animals communicate on. Now, scientists find that the more diverse the soundscape is, the healthier the ecosystem. Now, human sounds are altering this soundscape. And it's no wonder, because 83% of the contiguous United States is within 1 kilometer of a road. Another quick example is, it's hard to see up here, but if we alter a stream or there's a drought, we can see the species disappear from the sound spectrum over time. So why am I telling you about all this about noise pollution? Why did I do all this research? Well, when I was growing up, I became excited by technology. And in that process, you could say I sort of became somewhat sound blind to that connection we have with the world and nature. And also, as I grew up, I found, due to financial strain and population growth, I found myself living in denser and denser residential environments. And then I became really sick and almost died from some kind of food and chemical poisoning. And it was when I was recovering that I was trying to connect back to that nature, that symphony of sounds I had when I was little. And so I started listening to the world, and one of the first things I heard when I started listening was this sound all the time. Now, one of the strangest things in the world to me is someone coming home at 3 in the morning to a dense residential neighborhood and alerting everybody within a 2-block radius that they're locking the car. This kind of thing is happening 24 hours a day now. We live in a 24-hour world, especially here in Nevada, where we work and sleep at all different shifts. So when I was reaching out and finding other people facing noise pollution problems, all different kinds, I found one thing in common is that when they would speak out or try to fight it, one thing that always ended up happening is they ended up moving. So noise is a social justice issue. Right now, a big thing in the world right now is there's a new satellite technology which is concentrating flight paths into narrow corridors right over people's homes. A few years ago, around the Reno Tahoe airport, they did a study and they found that the closer you live to airport noise, the less your home was worth. So if noise affects our sleep, our health, and our home values, this is an economic issue. And if people are tired and they're not sleeping as well, you could say that they might not come up with as many big ideas. Unless, of course, those ideas are about noise pollution. So it's really hard for me to convey to you all the stories of people and animals suffering from noise pollution around the world. And so noise is clearly an environmental, a social, an economic, and a health issue. So what do we do about it? Well, the first thing we got to do is we got to listen. Now, there's some great resources out there, and including TED Talks, about how important listening and silence are to your health. The next thing we got to do is we got to realize that this is a tragedy of the commons issue. Not unlike a lot of other kinds of pollution that are hard to see and wrap your head around. And like CO2 emissions in the air, or mercury and other toxins that go into our waterways, our soundscape is a limited and shared resource. So that brings me to the next thing, which is an ethical and cultural question. Now, when I start to see technologies come up where we can lock and honk our car from our phone, I start to become concerned about the direction our culture is headed in. Now, when I create a noise I am expecting it and directly participating in that experience. But others out there around me might not be expecting it, and they might not be participating in my soundscape. So, and for an animal, a single little noise can be a matter of life or death because a disruption can discourage them from their foraging or mating practices. So when we become aware of this issue, and we need to start practicing that golden rule that we learned when we were little about to treat others as you would want to be treated. So this brings me to my last point, which is one of awareness and action. I don't think it's enough to be aware and awaken our sense of hearing. I think we need to take action and fight to protect our soundscapes. So if we don't fight and aren't aware of this, and we don't practice that golden rule, we're going to lose our freedoms. Because when people abuse their freedoms and exploit our shared resources, then we end up with laws and we all lose our freedoms. So when I talk to people about noise pollution, especially the horn honking thing, they often tell me, "Aaron, you have ruined my life. Everywhere I go now, I'm hearing people lock their cars." Now, I'm not here trying to ruin people's lives. I'm trying to bring awareness so that I can improve our lives. And I don't think that companies are intentionally trying to ruin people's lives or certain people's lives with their technology. But maybe we can use this as a type of awareness. And so the next time you hear someone lock their car or another disruptive noise, I'd like you to think about the impact you have on the world. Think about taking action. There's 2 bills in Congress right now that would reinstate funding to the EPA to help us control noises that would harm us. And I'd also like you to think about treating others, including wildlife, as you would want to be treated. And lastly, I'd like you to think about connecting this to other types of noise pollution, other types of pollution, because if we can awaken our sense of hearing and find such awareness, think of all the other types of awareness we can find by extending our senses. So I bring this awareness to you, and I hope for a happier and healthier future. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. That's why I don't use technology. These aren't very loud.